we begin. Hello, sorry, somebody.
Go me leis céile chéire, go me leis céile maichtú níl deis.
Oh, Monica, tá go bra, na bhí gorcha, So as you can see, our program, you can see our wonderful guests who will be entertaining us tonight. And we'll be starting that just very, very shortly. But before we begin, we here at La Casa de la Cultura Irlandese would like to dedicate this evening to Aisling Murphy, the young teacher from Tullamore, who was brutally and tragically attacked and killed last week, just over a week ago, in fact. She was a talented and very well respected Irish traditional musician, and we thought that it would be a fitting tribute to dedicate this evening to her memory tonight. So this is for Aisling. So before we begin, I think we are all muted, and Helen, who welcomed you in, is keeping an eye on everybody, so she'll make sure that everything is running smoothly. So we're going to start our Éigse Airneáil agus Iro mé an farsho an actal. I'm going to ask this man beside me to introduce and Céad Salvatore Aberlat.
Remagat Hira and Folce Doracdini, and since I am in Italian, I will say also 2 words in Italian. So, benvenuti a tutti, è un grande piacere avervi a questa notte irlandese. Io spero che abbiate tutti quanti il vostro bicchiere pieno accanto sul tavolino, anche se fuori campo dalla telecamera. Okay, we have now the first guest. I am very, very pleased and a little emotional to introduce our first guest, because it's a kind of myth of my introducing into the Irish culture, because it's a Dubliner, a real Dubliner, but in the 70s moved to Italy, moved to Rome here in our city, in my city, and merged with the cultural life of Rome, bringing the magic of the Irish culture and the Irish music, and started performing in what was the one of the most mythical venues of the 70s, the Folk Studio, and whoever is from Rome knows, and that's my age, knows what the Folk Studio was. She's the founder of, for what I may know, was the first Irish-Italian group of traditional music, the Russian Dove, which recorded their first LP in '77, and I have still the cassette that is consumed because I have played it on a loop for years. Now it's destroyed. So a talented translator, an harpist, a singer, and also a linguist, because she's a fluent Irish speaker and wrote the first, for what I may know, the first Irish grammar in Italian for Italians. And so I'm very happy and proud to introduce you to Kay McCarthy. Thank you, Kay. It's muted, but
okay, I've just unmuted myself. I'm very glad to be here. Sono molto contenta di essere qui con mio marito Piero. E non sappiamo che tipo di qualità di musica vi arriverà attraverso il mio computer. Un punto solo, sono dublinese solo di nascita, perché se non mi avessero fatto nascere a Dublino forse sarei morta. Quindi era destino che dovevo nascere e sono nata. I was only born in Dublin, but I grew up in the heart of the Gaeltacht, which is Mullingar, that further from the sea you couldn't have got. But I went to a Gaelscoil and also took part in what was called Fresh Lawn Éireann. And then I fortunately had 1/4 of my grandparents coming from the Donegal Gaeltacht from Teelan, Tirchonel. Wow. But I never met her because she died when my father was a child. However, we used to go there on holidays. And that's why the little song that I will sing with the accompaniment of Piero. You see his claddering. This cut a really important and surprising figure nearly 50 years ago when we got married in Rome. Nobody had ever seen, I think, a claddering before that on the Capitol Hill, but it made history that time. Now it's quite frequent to be able to see claddering on people who visit Ireland and come back with one. So the piece of music that we will do, just voice and I was going to say voice and bowron, is Níl na lá, which is all about drinking. We haven't got our glasses here, but morally we'll be getting drunk with a lot of you. Okay, vai Piero. Níl na lá na bhfuil go maidin, níl na lá na bhfuil go fáil, saldas de tasa albi. We mistake jacker still me carta van liana dochi lamni white to jor, pulam bohr gau wal, níl na lá na bhfuil go maidin, níl na lá na bhfuil go fáil, saldas de tasa albi. Chur me féin my love my focus dear me brishe kerneri dochi lam, pula boris be a golden ship the maidin. Arida hia irati karata vrista is the hatta kweni tu kyo lancho come andala di da da la ni la grani snella ni bel go majin snella ni bel go foil salda sarda tasi ali na mish fen and fargan kill a dog ma khis sim masconi playin narum feni Ni bhfuil go maidin, níl na lá na bhfuil go fáil, saldas de tasa albi, níl na lá níl na lá na bhfuil go maidin, níl na lá na bhfuil go fáil, saldas de tasa albi, níl na lá na bhfuil go fáil, saldas de tasa albi.
Mai Éigse. Is generous.
Maiu na cruce rosa visce an galanta goine.
Gallant or fat. Mai Éigse. Gur míle maigad. Cursi sin antus. Tus brewer leis an Éigse. That just gave us the right start, a lovely, lively start to our Éireann. So gur míle maigad. Thanks so much for that. Anish. So we're okay. So Anish and Kate E. Ella. Well, first of all, I need to tell you, the word rush in Gaelic can mean blast. For example, rush Grieche means a blast of wind, energy. And our next guests are dancers from the Rush School of Dancing here in Rome. Rush. Oh, and I have to say, they are energy and grace personified. Rush, actually, R-O-I-S, is an acronym for Roma, Irlanda, and Scotia. So all three. And this is a school of excellence in Irish and Scottish traditional dancing, as you will shortly see. We are most grateful to Martina Spagna, who is one of the directors of the school, who kindly got some of her excellent dancers to perform 2 sets of reels for us to enjoy tonight. The first of the reels that we're going to see are called After Hours at McGann's and Gaelic Storm. And Helen is going to share the recording with us now. So hopefully we'll all be able to see and hear the music. This is this is all a bit experimental for all of us. So hopefully we'll all hear and see at the same time.
Thanks, Ciara.
Well, we can see that Irish culture is alive and kicking in Rome. It absolutely is, isn't it? It's
Fantastic.
wonderful, wonderful school. We'll have an opportunity to see some more from Rush a little bit later on in the evening. But really, thank you very much to all the girls, all the dancers who took part in those wonderful reels. We're going to move on now to South Donegal, and it is more an pleasure do Fidgeler Og Comisa Aisling Nivern occur over Lahar Inish. It is my great pleasure to introduce you to this young and talented traditional fiddle player, Aisling Nivern, who comes from Glan Columcille in Yeshgurt, Donegal. Aisling is a graduate of the World Academy of Irish Music and Dance in Limerick. She is a freelance musician as well as a tutor. She has collaborated on many musical projects, including the RTE Orchestra and Michael O'Sullivan. She comes from a prodigious family of musicians. Aisling's father was James Byrne, no an Burnach, mar is far Airneáil Dunne den fiddlery is ahanta agus is tawachti a hanik amachas Donegal, one of the most important and significant fiddlers who came out of Donegal. Aisling's mom, Connie, and her two sisters, Merle and Shauna, are also amazing fiddle players. And we hope we'll have the pleasure of the whole family being part of a musical occasion sometime in the future. Aisling, Cadavis
Hi.
What are you going to play for us tonight?
I'm going to play a Strasbourg and a reel.
Uh-huh.
The Strasbourg is called the Ironman, and it's a composition of Tommy Peoples.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm going to go into 2 reels from Daddy. The first one is called The Spirits of Wine, and the second one is called The Deer Tobacco.
Galanta.
Galanta, Aisling.
Aisling. Right, lads.
Thanks a million.
Aisling, Aisling, hug to a rashmich go Glen Colum Killia, but in our tea rorties with Hinton or that, just transported us back to Glen Colum. That was absolutely gorgeous, Aisling. Lovely. Aisling has arranged and produced an album of her father's beautiful fiddle music to commemorate his 10th anniversary. Isn't that right, Aisling? And you're currently working on your own album, isn't that right?
Indeed.
That's something that
Slowly but surely.
maybe we could circulate information about, so to anybody who's interested in following Aisling, you can do that through us, okay?
Higlin Fanacht.
The Higlin Fanacht. Magnu Aisling, Fermina Maggot, absolutely lovely. Okay, Timmy de Buggerai.
Yeah, Finally, Tushker Naherin. No, we
Okay.
stay in the north. Rimaniamo nel Nord Irlanda to introduce and present a prominent figure in the scene of the Irish language and culture. No, based in Derry for a long time, a lecturer in the Ulster's University of Ulster, in the McGee's College, or in Irish language and adults education, a composer, an author, a singer, accordion player, a master of the language and of the lore of Ireland, writer of one of the most utilized courses of Irish for adult people, a mentor. I'm very happy and proud to introduce Richard McGowan. That Richard, cada vez tu kiol an agin anot.
Gurmahigut Salvatore. I'm hastian word Roddy Jassal Clunchen for the Dutch. Irgoni Doa Clownish. If you want people to say nice things about you, make sure to select your Mac Clownish, your son-in-law, with great care. So, Gurmaigat Salvatore. We may giri oran a win listen Europe. Agus heporum Kiona Isle of Igiri an Roiv. Ach, ma hen to sheer gaji and shachtu kid jig a gyol na heron to oran gallant or fad. Rudbug bronach ach inta bin agus Allen agus Shinnon Toran of West Ogum Jeeve and Ocht. I thought about searching for a song in Irish that had some kind of relationship with Rome, but the nearest I got to it is a song that reflects the very harrowing events that took place in Ireland in the 17th century. It was a very war-torn century in Ireland, and it led eventually to a great disastrous defeat at the end of the century, which led to many thousands of young men have been forced to leave Ireland. Many of them went to Europe and found themselves in various armies in Europe, in France and Spain, and probably in Italy as well. The interesting thing about this, and it's a love song, is that it's sung, it should be sung by a woman, because it's the thoughts and hopes been expressed by a young woman who has lost her lover, her boyfriend, because he is one of the young men that's been forced to leave Ireland and live in the mainland of Europe. It's called Siúlagra, Walk Love. And I'll just read out a fairly crude translation of a couple of the verses. Gentle, beautiful lad, broad was your heart and sweet your kiss. Alas, that I'm not with you forever, and may you go, sweet love, safely. Walk, 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 my love, There's no cure to be had but the cure of death. Since you left me, poor is my plight, and may you go, sweet love, safely. It's called Siúl Gra. Na walk ni na no ba Banando Chris by phone Molien gan mishe Latin go John Scoche to warning slang Shul, 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 the ground. Kneel, lies a file, knock, lies a wise. No that to me, this bocht mochas. Scoche to warning slang. This many gathering to mail the gloom. Na corn the scale do ken manure. Na that to me. To maroon Scoje to a warning slang Shul, 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 gra Neil lies Raphael Nach lies Wash O dank to me Nes bocht mochas Scoje to warning slang Nes carri shameless ruid Nes dream again lies shallows Nes Jimmy Monor Scoje to warning slang Shul, 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 gra Neil lies Raphael Noch lies Wash No dan to me Nes bocht mochas Scoje to no warning slang Sinead.
Dílas, Sally,
No,
you're
dear
the
my
market.
Richard, just the row, no? Ta Clashkedal, Hiul, I got no in Trader in the Line. Well,
While a couple of focal rafting clash
no, Jenny May.
yeah.
Okay, for whoever would be interested, let me know that Richard has a Clashkedal, so evening class, let's say class of Irish and Scottish, no, in Irish, in
Gaelic
Gaelic
and
and Gaelic songs, in which he teaches both the meaning so of the songs and how to sing them. And so it's very interesting. If anybody would be interested, it's Monday. The Luan, he had the Luan. Richard, no, not well.
Monday at 7:30 was time,
So if
8:30.
anybody's interested, just
Uh,
contact
uh,
us and we will.
We're online now as a result of the COVID difficulties, so and we'll be there for the foreseeable future. If anybody's interested in joining us, you'll be most welcome. Ciara will be able to provide you with the joining information. So if you're interested in learning a few Irish songs, there's no better place than Classical Cushfjord, the singing class on the Foyle side. The River Foyle is the river that runs through the city of Derry in the north of Ireland.
I suppose that I have seen a message passing in the chat, and you have probably a new pupil,
A new recruit.
a new recruit.
Indeed.
Goramila Magot Arishtar.
Magat.
Okay.
Gallant or Fagger,
Galanta.
So, okay, so anybody who's interested in maybe finding out more information about the Clashgadal can certainly do that through us, and we'll put you in contact. Gormila Magat. So, Anishimajak Bogurahik, Eve, you're going to introduce our next guest for us.
Hi, hello everyone. So I'd like to introduce to you a fabulous singer, songwriter, music producer, and award winner, Victoria Johnston. And just before we see her video called Tar Lum, Victoria is here tonight. And hello, how are you? And Victoria, I just want to ask you a couple of questions because I was actually reading in a nice write-up you got in Irish Tatler, and it said that that you released 2 singles in March 2020, and both of them went to the top of the chart in the overall iTunes. Is that correct?
Yes, firstly, greetings from Dublin, and thank you for that lovely introduction, Eve. Yeah, so basically I'd recorded my debut singles in 2019, and I could not have anticipated that the day that I would release both of my debut singles would end up being the exact day that Ireland went into its first full lockdown. But they were already planned to be released that day anyway. And thankfully they did do really well. They went into #1 position in the top 10 charts, which was really, really great on a very strange day.
Yeah. And the video that we're going to see tonight, it's titled Tar Lum. Now that was nominated for a Grammy, is that right?
Yeah, so basically after it went to #1 in Ireland, it received quite a lot of radio airplay and that type of thing, which was absolutely brilliant. And then I made, anyway, there's a couple of rounds of the Grammy Awards, which I had to explain to my granny, who's nearly 98, that the Grammy Awards are basically the Oscars of music. And can everyone hear me? Is it a bit echoey, or is that just me?
It's a tiny echo, but I think we're okay.
There is an echo, yes, a very, very big echo. So it's not.
I don't know how to, I don't know how to
keep
change
going.
that anyway. But yeah, so anyway, they made it through to the kind of final shortlist round, alongside artists like Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, Beyonce. So to have an Irish song in particular, I couldn't have predicted that an Irish song, like sung in Irish, would reach that stage of the round. So I was absolutely delighted.
Because the song, actually, the title Tar Lum, Irish language is important to you, isn't it? And you've actually brought that, or it has traveled so far. So, you know, I suppose, is the Irish language important to you in your work?
Yeah, I wouldn't be a fluent Irish speaker at all, but I love singing in Irish, and I kind of personally feel that the Irish language just lends itself so well to music. It's a language I feel that really needs to be sung, you know, that kind of way. So I was just delighted. I always felt it was quite a special song personally, and then just to see the reach and how it's gone around the world is just brilliant.
And I said, we're only going to see one of your singles tonight, but if people want to see your work, I mean, because you have another one, don't you? The other one that was released on the same day, Land of Hope, is that right?
Yeah, You Are the Peace was released the same day, and then my follow-up single, Land of Hope, was out that later on that year. But yeah, I just have 3 singles out so far.
That sounds like a lot. Like that's a lot of work there in a short time. But you've been a musician for a very long time, haven't you? You've studied music for. Did you get a scholarship right at the age of 9?
Yeah, so at the age of 9, I got a scholarship to study at the Royal Irish Academy of Music. So I guess my background would be quite extensive in terms of classical musical training and performance. And then I went on and majored in composition in what was the DIT Conservatory of Music and Drama. So yeah, I definitely have a lot of classical training background. I suppose that's my background. But before I launched my solo career, I guess I was headhunted to sing with chamber choirs in Ireland. So and I sang and worked with bands and various musicians before just deciding to do it myself.
That's fantastic. And I've seen your videos and I think they're absolutely gorgeous. They're very beautiful as well as very obviously very high standard of composition and musicality. But in terms of, I'm a visual artist, so visually they appeal to me greatly. So if people want to see more of your work after tonight, they can go to your website, isn't that right? And you're on Instagram as well and Twitter?
Yeah, so I go under Victoria Johnston Official. So once you put Victoria Johnston or Victoria Johnston Official into Google, I'll come up on YouTube or Instagram, yeah, and Spotify and all those places.
That's fantastic. So brilliant. Thank you, Victoria, and thank you for joining us tonight. So Helen, are you ready to share? Yeah, brilliant. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely.
My
Victoria, grazie. Thank you so much. That was just lovely. That was
Absolutely lovely.
Yeah. Really lovely.
Thank you.
We were all transported. We were all transported.
And thank you also, Eve.
And thank you, Eve. Thank you also, Eve.
Thank you.
So we're going to move on now. Salvatore is going to introduce our next guest. Off you go. My
And
left.
do you think that there are only Irish people tonight? No. Questa volta un po' di rivincita degli italiani, perché anche essendo la casa della cultura irlandese di Roma in Italia, no, being the Irish culture, home of culture, indeed in Italy, we are very honored to present one of our best poet. Is a very renowned Italian poet and critic, and is an award winner. He won the Mondello Prize. It is one of the most important poet prizes in Italy. But what is more relevant to us tonight is that he is totally mad about Ireland. He's an Irish lover. In his biography, it's written very interestingly that Paolo Febbraro lives in Dublin, but for the sake of his job, is forced to spend 300 days per year in Italy, in Rome. No, so Italy is a Dubliner of acquisition, and so he is poetic, has a lot in common with Ireland. He was a friend of Seamus Heaney and translated a lot of his poetry too. Tonight he is going to read us some poems that are related anyway to Ireland. He is a poet that is translated in a lot of languages: English, French, Spanish, Russian even. But tonight, obviously, he will be, I suppose, reading in English and Italian to represent the Italian portion of this of the Irish culture. Paolo, molte grazie. Taffolcherud, grande benvenuto, è un mio grande piacere presentarti a tutta la serata. Paolo Febbraro.
Grazie, thank you everybody. Thank you for having me tonight. I would like to wish to celebrate my bond with Ireland with just a bit of poetry. I'm gonna read three poems very important to me. Maybe written 10 years ago, maybe more. Not in the north, but in the south. I wrote these poems, short poems, a suite of 3 poems in the kingdom, in the county Kerry. And now I'm going to read both in Italian and in English. In the translation of Airneáil. Suite dell'agosto irlandese. Non tentare con me, dice l'oceano, alla vena d'acqua che per la spiaggia si dissimula e gli si infligge. Rossa di torba e minerale, non concepisci l'immensità del sale. Ho qui scavato ad arco una baia in cui non sembro, e lento rilascio la mia forza. Guardati nell'alga che ora la sabbia calpestra e raro il sole disfa. Dunque non metterti in acqua, non tentare con me. E il ruscello che mormora nel sotterfugio diversamente tenta e tenta. Don't try anything with me, says the ocean, to the furtive vein of water chiseling itself into the shore. Peat red, tinted with minerals, you've no idea of salt's immensity. Here I have carved a curving bay where I don't look like me and where I let my force out slowly. Look at you, skulking under sand-flattened bladder rack, unmade but a bit of sun. So, don't come into the water, don't try anything with me. But the stream cunningly murmurs a story of its own, and tries again, and tries again. The second poem. Scavate nelle siepi le strade, qui sventano la bellezza, sprecano meraviglie e mi risparmiano. La baia è quanto del mare riesco a concepire. L'oceano mi lambisce e solo di notte in sogno mi viene contro, immagina i miei peccati. Al mattino starà a me farmi golfo, cedimento, più spaziosa chiusura. Carved under hedgerows, here the roads thwart beauty, squander miracles, and spare me. The bay is all I can conceive of sea. The ocean laps me, and only in my dreams at night turns on me, imagine my sins. When morning comes, my task will be to make myself a gulf, a yielding, a more spacious closure. The third one, the last one. Hogshead è perduto. A sud resiste a stento Horse Island. A largo di St. Finan, lo Skellig, pietra e navigante, si disabita anche della vista. È nebbia. Assale ai fianchi della costa. Salta sul treno del vento. Lo frena alla propria stazione. Come una rieducazione. Non mareggiate o lamenti, ma un autunno a scomparsa, dichiarazione di resa e fine di un agosto, prima dei tormenti. Hogshead is lost. Southward, Horse Highlands barely holding out, and on St. Finan's Reach, the Skellig, stone and sailor, is deserted even by the eye. Fog. It assails the coast's flanks, jumps the wind's train, holds it at the chosen station. Like a re-education. No sea storms or lamentations, but a secreted autumn, declaration of surrender, and end of an August before the torments. Here I am. Thank you. Thank you. Just that.
Oh, just fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we hope, noi speriamo che tu possa tornare presto in Irlanda, because we know that with COVID, the COVID problem, you know, you were stuck in Italy for 2 years nearly now.
Both yourself and Daniela.
Yeah. And Daniela.
My wife and I miss Ireland very, very, very much. Yeah.
So to have more poems like this, we hope really that we can. You have a book coming out right now?
Not now, not in the following months. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Paolo, grazie.
Grazie infinite.
Just beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, now Kira.
Okay, and now I'm going to ask Susanna to present our next guest. Susanna.
Eccoci, buonasera a tutti. Io sono molto felice di presentare il nostro prossimo ospite sia come membro del comitato organizzatore della Casa della Cultura Irlandese che come direttore dell'Irish Film Festa, che è un festival italiano del tutto dedicato al cinema irlandese. So I'm particularly proud to introduce our next guest, who is Seamus O'Rourke. Seamus O'Rourke is an actor, a poet, a director, a playwright. He has written many plays, 15 plays, and 2 books. The most recent one has been published last year. It's a memoir. It's called Standing in Gaps. And I strongly recommend it to everyone because it's really worth reading. Seamus has also starred in several Irish films. He lives in rural Ireland in Leitrim, in County Leitrim, and has become widely known for his simple storytelling, capturing Irish rural life in a way that entertains and impresses at the same time. We got a taste of his art last year when we, for the launch of the Casa della Cultura Irlandese, presented a short film called You're Not a Man at All. That short was directed by Podrick Conati and written by Seamus O'Rourke himself, who also plays the lead in the short. He plays the farmer that has that little secret if someone has seen it and recalls the story. And tonight, Seamus has been so kind to send us a recorded video for this event, a video where he gives us one of his poems called The Drawer. And this poem is another wonderful example of how simplicity and depth can go together. So we are honored to share it with you tonight. I'm sure you will enjoy it. And so this is the adorable Seamus O'Rourke. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on this evening. I'm not going to attempt anything Éigse, and I won't attempt to speak in Italian, but I would like to give you a poem of mine called The Drawer. I wrote this a couple of years ago, and it's I've written a lot about my father over the years. He passed away almost 20 years ago now, but he's still very much in my thoughts and in my writing. And this piece seems to resonate with a lot of people, especially in this country. So I'll give it to you now this evening. The Drawer. He was an easygoing man, that's what they said, easygoing, and he was. My father had a drawer under the bench in the shed. That was his go-to place, to somewhere he went for peace and clarity or just time. The drawer had divisions made from skelps of wood, divided to hold washers and nuts and split pins and plugs, roll plugs for masonry. It was a farmer's emporium of knickknacks and tools. Everything was there, anything you'd use to fix farming equipment or stuff about the house. But it wasn't always what was in the drawer that the old man saw. It was the world around him when it got disturbed. It was his place for reflection and welding and grinding, for sorting out questions and sometimes, not always, finding answers. If we wouldn't do homework or crashed the good car, if there was a row over football or someone let him down somehow, he'd go to the shed and he'd open the drawer and he'd start footering and figuring and scratching and banging. And after surmising, he'd put all away and he'd take a deep breath and he'd have the last say. Of course he did, he was the boss. He kept everything there, all the rivets and screws and a packet of lockets that never got used, and fuses. There was a compartment for fuses all to themselves. He said they were safer there than above on the shelves, and they were. There was the good spanner, it was missing, though he still had the box, and he kept bulbs in it. And there was a whole section for locks, and another for keys. There was keys for locks that were lost or broken, and good locks with no keys that no one could open. If he had a row with me mother, that's where he'd go, although it wasn't often they had a row. If there was an animal down or a friend of his died, you'd see him through the window, just standing inside by the bench at the drawer. As time went on, he went there a lot, and he'd open the drawer, sometimes not. The divisions and compartments had started to crumble. Everything was there. It was just such a scramble to find what he wanted. But he still fixed things, or he thought he did. And sometimes he fixed things that were already fixed. Mostly he put on his glasses, marked glasses from the pouch on the shelf, and He tidied the bench and tied bits of twine. And he'd open that drawer and say, oh my, all these things so precious, and he didn't know why. He was an easygoing man, that's what they said. He kept his world in the drawer, under the bench, in the shed.
That was just special. That was just special. The wonderful Seamus O'Rourke, indeed. And he took time out of a very busy schedule. He's actually on tour now, isn't that right, Susanna?
Yes,
He's
he
on
is.
tour.
Yeah, yes.
So we
There's
were
a
very
performance
grateful.
on Saturday. Yes.
That's right. That's right. We're very grateful to him for taking the time out to record that, especially for us. Thank you, Susanna. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you to Seamus O'Rourke, the wonderful Seamus O'Rourke. And now we're over to Eve. Eve, who's our next guest? Just to let people know before we move on, we did program for an hour. I can see that we're probably going to run over a little bit. But I hope you will stay with us. I know that this has been, I think, I'd say, a wonderful evening. So we only have a few more guests left. So I hope you will stay with us, even if we do run over the hour a little bit. Eve.
Hiya. So now we're going to have a piece of piano music played by Katerina Speranskaya. She's a Dublin-based cellist and a pianist. And she's going to play for us Micheál Ó Súilleabháin's Woodbrook, and a little touch of the Irish air, She Moves Through the Fair.
Lovely, lovely.
Apologies, there will be one moment. I apologize. Technical difficulties. It is
I'll just
coming.
keep talking until
keep
the
talking
air
keep talking for 20 more seconds, please, Eve. Thank you.
Okay, so Katerina, she has played in the National Concert Hall in Dublin, in the National Gallery in Dublin, and in on the Mansion House stage in Dublin. So she's pretty busy and she's very accomplished. That's probably only 10 seconds, is it?
In fact, well, what we could do, if there is a technical difficulty, we could jump one and come back again if you want.
No, we have it. It's ready to go. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Eve.
Thank you.
Brava
Fantastic.
Caterina. That was just lovely. That was
Super
just
lovely.
lovely.
Super lovely.
Really lovely. Really lovely. Really lovely. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much to Caterina and thank you, Eve. Akarja, we've arrived at our penultimate guest, which is this man here sitting beside me, Salvatore Fichera, a Sicilian whose love of Irish language, music, and culture led him to Ireland many, many years ago, and I guess was part of the reason that he formed a very strong bond with Donegal, an enduring bond, we could say, with Donegal and with Derry. Tonight, Salvatore, you're going to sing us a song, Éireann be Éireann ó Ghunanálogad.
Yes, it's terrible that I will perform after these fantastic musicians, no, but there is always, since the night was going so well, there is always the chance to ruin, to spoil it altogether, and I'm here for this. And the song is a very brief song, so don't be worried. And song from Gidor, you know, in the far north of Donegal, and basically it's a song of a wanderer, about a wanderer whose only interest in life is composing verses, get drunk, and pursuing young ladies. And it's called Shakran Kartil. Sorry. It was on the guitar. If not, we'll do without. Gloria mia Maria. Mohar Shiago Karam Tildum going up Lentor from Wiramore. Arloman Minasum Tira Nirdum Sigo Kim War Shusaro. Darloman Agus Garmo Helpen, when Shuran shall go. Konakadun Sagutanaham Grianyal, Chuga Jero in a clear marer. Anni mele pradum wetchen Gusas Bakele, Nirimoglu. Jarumedi uru yunari narin naglakudere orumin saru Jarushidum sakorum moleni Mowik mowever confunam ru Guru anna koni shisha sakmaredu Erana bregu nagalino Bimgo eheraker wulum tleve Janu versi sakartu kyo Shale ple dale brar intino Shale bregu nagalino Shale mokare shale mokare Vulca spero li giacono Shalmohonna dore quarto liauni Idronerne samuchashmor Nidionetta shogomin aliavan A quel mengra le vanno ho Pasna rossa hier minna muera Cogio ganer Gojimuchashmor Gishimuela Mani naran sakoshki doi Olitir kendi goji mula gen The corum finish the costerod Bime munemor gut kashna klabai maridali guslina skia Bime mune kan serum crunchy la gioche golenie la cordis brilliant Arera arla in gioconame Anorta tome fui carantillo Anish busra ala tarara home Shomo lodich bime gil Shine
Bravo. Bravo.
Yeah, our last guest, but not the least.
So we have arrived at the end of our Éigse, and I think you will agree with me that it's been a truly memorable evening. We at the Casa de la Cultura Irlandese would like to thank all of our guests who so generously gave of their time tonight to be with us and to record pieces of music and poetry and singing to make this just really what a treat, you know. So grazie di cuore, thank you
We hope
Grazie
to,
mille, ma
in better days, to be able to do this live, no?
absolutely. Well, to sulogin go me, the Casa della Cultura Irlandese, or Áras, Éigse, Éireann in Irish, we are a group of volunteers with a passion for Irish and Italian culture. We are made up of Italians and Irish. And I guess our objective is at some point in the future to have a dedicated centre here in Rome to promote Irish culture, but also the bringing together of both Irish and Italian culture. What we've seen here tonight, in effect, in a way, being able to go online like this has been a blessing, because it has allowed us to be able to launch ourselves and to have a presence. And we are very grateful for all the support that you have shown us. We hope we will be able to have other evenings like this in the future, other Éireann, for example. I'm delighted to be able to tell you that our next event we are planning to organize will be with the wonderful Kay McCarthy, who started our evening off. And I think it's appropriate that our next event will be with Kay. It's scheduled to coincide with St. Bridget's Day, or Imbolc, the Celtic festival, which heralds the arrival of spring. And I have to say, I couldn't think of a more fitting guest to herald the arrival of spring. So we will keep you posted about that. So, Akarja, we want to thank you again for your support, for being with us here tonight. It's appropriate, I think, that we finish with a last blast of energy from Rush, the Irish dance school here in Rome, and they will perform the second of the reels that Martina kindly recorded for us. And these reels are called Antics and Bioga. So, Akarja, Gael, Amici, we want to again thank you and wish you a buona serata. Iawai, August Goromila Maiga. And thank you for being with us tonight. Until the next occasion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goromaiga. And over to Helen.